Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am super excited because we are turning this $20 Walmart mirror into a beautiful piece of art. About 3 years ago, I picked up this mirror at Walmart with the full intention of making it over and just never got around to it. So over my Christmas break, I finally got around to making this mirror over, and I cannot wait to show you how it turned out. Now, as you can see, the first thing I did was cut down a shipping box to fit the front of my mirror, and then I used painter's tape to tape this down to the mirror to protect it as I'm making this over. But we are actually going to be working on the back side of this mirror to start with. Now, before I started this project, I did a lot of research, and this is me actually testing out if my way of doing this would actually work. Essentially, what I am trying to do is remove the backing from this mirror as good as I can, and then underneath that paper layer, there is a black layer of paint on this mirror, and underneath the black layer of paint, there is a silver layer, and then you get to the front, which is just a piece of glass. Now, I know this may sound a little bit confusing, but just stick with me. I want to basically take a few spots and sand it down all the way to the clear glass so that I can make this into a beautiful piece of art. Now, as you can see, I struggled a little bit because, as it turned out, this paper was actually glued to the back of the mirror. So I did have to use some soapy water and a razor blade to scrape it off. But then once I got to the layer of paint, I just used a combination of Dollar Tree sanding blocks and some coarser sandpaper to get this paint off the back to get to the clear glass part. Now, there are a ton of tutorials on Pinterest telling you how to antique a mirror, but they all use citrus strip, which is a chemical paint stripper, and I just do not like the smell of it. So I wanted to see if I could do this with just sandpaper, and as you can see, it worked. I ended up sanding down 3 random spots on the back of my mirror, and honestly, this did not take long at all once I had the technique down. And now that the back is finished, we can move on to decorating the front before finishing the back. I decided to use some of these craft treat stencils from Amazon to start making over the front of this mirror. I'm also using, of course, some Dollar Tree spackling and my Cricut spatula that I also got from Dollar Tree, and we're gonna do some raised stencils all around this mirror. Now, on all 4 corners of this mirror, I'm using a smaller stencil and some painter's tape just to make sure I don't make a huge mess. Then I am gonna get a nice healthy layer of spackling, and I'm gonna rub this over my stencil. Now, if you've been here a while, you have seen me do this technique multiple times, and I'm sure you all know how to do it by now, but I wanted to share with you some super tips for doing this technique. 2 things that I have found that make this technique really simple is to add a few drops of water to your spackling so that it is more spreadable and not as crumbly, and then you will get neater lines under your stencil. Tip number 2 is make sure that you have a lot of spackling on the back of your spatula, because you can always wipe off the excess, but you want this to fill those holes completely. And the best part about this technique is if you do mess up, you can always just wipe it off with a moist paper towel and start over. Now back to the makeover for the front of the mirror. You may notice that the frame is now gold, and that is just because I was testing out a paint color. You can just disregard that for a moment, and now we are using the larger stencil. I measured out to the center of the frame, and you can see I used a black Sharpie to make a little mark where the center was on the cardboard, and then I placed my stencil and I rubbed over it with some more of that spackling, and then I'm gonna wash off my stencil and I'm gonna flip it over to do the other side. And like I said before, the best part about this technique, you can see here I had a little bit of overage, so I just used my finger to wipe that off. Now like I said, after I clean my stencil, I'm flipping it over and lining it up against the first stencil, and then I'm gonna tape this down and put some spackling over it again. I ended up doing all four sides exactly the same, just like this, measuring out to the center and then doing the stencil twice on each side. And then after a few hours and the spackling had dried, I took this outside and I did decide to spray this that gold color. That is Rust-Oleum metallic gold. And then I brought it back in and we're gonna do the crackle technique. So I'm just using some regular white school glue, and I am going to put this all over the frame, but I am doing it one side at a time so that I can do this quickly and get the most crackle. Now, as you can see, I am putting it thin and thick in random places. The thicker you have this glue, the more crackle you're going to get, and the bigger cracks you're going to get. The thinner the glue, then you're just going to get smaller cracks. And I am putting it over where I did the spackling and the stencil, but I'm just doing a very thin layer over that. Now I let this glue dry until it was just tacky, not completely dry, and then I'm going in with one coat of my white chalk paint. And since it is just one coat of this top paint, I did give it a pretty heavy coat, and then I pulled out my hairdryer and started drying this, and that's what's going to help it crackle. Then I continued that same technique on each side, doing the glue, then the paint, then the hairdryer. Now you can let this air dry and you will get the same crackle that I am getting with my blow dryer, but this just speeds up the process. Now, right around this time, I started noticing something else was happening to my frame as I was doing this crackle technique. I am still not sure how this happened or what caused it, whether it was the spray paint, the glue on top of the spray paint, or what, but I am trying to zoom in right here because my frame started to have patina. I don't know if you can see it that great, but some spots for some reason started having green patina, and I was so excited. I still have no idea what caused it, but this was a perfect little accident, and somehow I made this frame have natural patina. Now, if you don't know what patina is, it is a kind of green or turquoise color that forms naturally on aged metals like copper or bronze. So this turned out perfect for the vintage frame style that I was going for. So for the final step on the front of my mirror, I am taking some of my European gold rub and buff, and I am just accenting all of the little details that I did with the spackling. Then I'm gonna flip this mirror over and finally get to my absolute favorite part of this makeover. I started by cleaning those spots that I sanded down. I'm gonna take the cardboard off of the front of this, and then I'm gonna be using some of these scrapbook pages that I got from Amazon. These are the same ones that I've been using in a few of my other videos. I absolutely love these scrapbook pages. They are vintage and they have so many beautiful options, but I am choosing 2 for each little window that I made, and I'm just going to tape these to the back of my frame. Now you could recover the back of this mirror to protect these, or like I did, you can leave it exposed so that you can change out that scrapbook paper for different different holidays or seasons and turn this into a brand new piece of art. And here is the final reveal.